is time for Coffee on the Coast. Good afternoon and welcome to Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host today, Tina Prigge. Delighted to welcome back Tim Gadzinski from the Manitowoc Public Library as our guest. Tim, so good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me on again, Tina.
And for those who aren't already participating or signed up, here's just a little reminder to get signed up for the summer reading program at the Manitowoc Public Library.
Boom, show it. Oh, I thought you had the graphic. I thought you were going to pump it up.
Oh, sorry, no, I was just showing my little pin here.
Oh. Now
I'm not
I
just
understand.
pointing. Yeah, okay.
You are the graphic. Now I understand.
I am the billboard.
That should be the name of your autobiography. I am the billboard. The Tina Prigge story. No, it starts this Sunday. As a matter of fact, that is the official jumping off point for the summer reading program.
Awesome.
I don't have any crickets to eat today. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you to Tim for eating a cricket live last week. That was fantastic. One of my favorite shows, I think. Thank you so much for doing that.
Well, just to clarify, we were live when I ate the cricket. I did not eat a live cricket.
That's an important clarification. Yes.
I mean, I think it would be a whole different experience. The way I ate it, it was like eating, just a very dry falafel, a dry, tiny falafel.
I do a dry, tiny falafel. I do have to say, though, I'm so thankful that you did that because my teen son, who's kind of reticent about, oh, I'm too old now to participate, saw the crickets. And I think he was going in to meet with Susie in the youth department to get set up on the Beanstack app.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're never too old to join. And there's always something fun to do. That's what I really do like and have always liked since I was a kid, on 14th Street going to the library in Hamilton. There's always something unexpected and fun that'll catch you off guard with the summer reading program. And that's, yes, it helps to keep your mind in tune for when you head back to school, whether you're in fourth grade or going to be a sophomore or junior in high school. It keeps you your mental acuity doesn't fade over the summer from not doing anything. That's great. And that's a wonderful bonus. But it really is just a heck of a lot of fun.
And adults can participate too.
Yeah, everyone can. Whether you're a tiny, tiny person who doesn't know how to read yet, if you're being read to, which is a phenomenal thing, you can be a participant. And all the way to, the senioriest of senior citizens. You can, enjoy audiobooks and programming and large print books. It's for everybody. It is a great, free, equalizing, have fun and use your imagination and keep yourself mentally in tune program.
And send me your pictures or video clips of you or your friend eating a cricket, and I will definitely share them here on the Coolest Coast.
Oh, that would be great if you could put together a whole montage of cricket eating.
That would.
Do I hear a car ferry?
Yeah, you do hear the Manitowoc. Yeah, the car ferry just arrived in Manitowoc. That's awesome. Okay, but we are not here today to talk about the summer reading program. This was just a friendly reminder. We've actually got a pretty cool exhibit that's coming up at the library. I just want to read this blurb for the viewers. Something exceptional will be occurring at MPL next week. It's the opening of the Away from Home American Indian Boarding School Stories exhibition. This National Endowment for the Humanities on the Road exhibit takes a frank, open-eyed look at the tragic initiative put in place by the United States government beginning in the 1870s that attempted to educate and assimilate American Indians into civilized society by placing children of all ages from thousands of homes and hundreds of diverse tribes in distant residential boarding schools.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that this is such an important topic to tackle because it could be a piece of forgotten history if we don't keep reminding ourselves. And it's definitely history we don't want to repeat. And Tim, I hope I didn't take your thunder away by reading that. Tell us what we need to know.
No, well, definitely. I don't think it's taking you didn't steal any thunder because, it's, I was talking to someone the other day and I was saying, what we weren't taught in school is absolutely amazing. I brought up when I was at St. Boniface, I learned to speak a little bit of German. There were many courses. So I learned a little bit of German, but nobody told me about the Japanese internment camps. that never, the Japanese American internment camps, that never came up. Or, uh, I was going to school with newly arrived Hmong immigrants, and I didn't know they were great. I loved having them as classmates, but that was as far as I knew them. I knew nothing about their culture. I've learned more about the Hmong culture the past 2 years with the exhibits that have been put together by Julia and Kanu Hong Vu at the library than I knew growing up.
Right.
And I think the American Indian boarding school program is another one of those initiatives. It is so very clear that, you always hear to the victor go the spoils. Well, uh, to the victor goes the history as well.
Right.
Because,
Right.
you selectively tell a history that paints the best narrative for you. And anti I'm not anti anyone. This isn't supposed to be a political thing. It's just a simple historical fact that at a certain point in our history, after we had conquered an entire nation of people that were here before the Western European settlers were, and we bought into the idea of manifest destiny and decided to take all of the land from the East Coast to the West Coast and make it one country. Um, there was an entire civilization, multi-civilization people and nations living on this land. And so once that it had become quote unquote our country, one of the things that were done was the boarding school program to forcibly assimilate people into civilized culture by removing their, and this is another quote, this is something that's actually brought up in the exhibit, their Indianness. They wanted to erase their Indianness and essentially make them Western European. Because some of the pictures that you'll see in the exhibit, and it's a very visual exhibit. They have a photo of uh, this First Nations younger gentleman as he looked when he went into the school, and then after he had had his hair cut and taken out of his clothing and his I don't know what you want jewelry. I mean, it's jewelry, but I guess his
Accessories.
accessories,
Accessories. Yeah.
and replace them with a suit and a starch collar and a tie and this very flat, very, you know, greased down haircut. And you could tell that with the way the picture was developed, they whitened him as well. I don't think they went to the extent of whitening the skin, but they underexposed it or overexposed it, excuse me, so that, they really wanted to, assimilate them into what they thought was the direct way to go. And it isn't. Trying to anyone of their cultural identity, is it right? It
No,
just
no,
flat
and
out isn't right.
to call it civilized, it seems
Oh
like the
yeah.
complete antithesis of civilized,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But so much, of what is civilized really isn't. I mean, it almost, yeah, I can't remember what the commercial was, but it was like, don't be uncivilized was the tagline in the commercial, but they were using it as a joke, really, but all too often it is just a forced assimilation, into a
And
culture that isn't yours.
the tragedy too of sort of deconstructing a person and what makes the culture, the language, everything that's known to them. I mean, it's just the mental turmoil, I think, and self-doubt and everything that would create. I can't even imagine how anybody thought that this was a good idea. And I also am shocked that we don't learn about this, that we don't discuss it and like learn from this tragic mistake.
Oh, I know, and that, well, essentially that is, like you said, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. And that's why it's important to take a good hard look at this sort of thing so that we don't do it again, so that we don't go down that road another time because it isn't worth it. I mean, think of the things that, you really can learn and experience from other cultures instead of either turning a blind eye to it or trying to wipe it away. I mean, it's a much more rich experience to in, enjoy and indulge and be exposed to other cultures. And in some ways, this is a reverse of the process. I mean, the actual program was a reverse of the process, but I think this exhibition's intent is to show you that the reverse of the process is the wrong way to go because in many ways, as we were talking before the show, one of the things, this seems like it's a very, and it is a heavy subject, but one of the things that's also explored in it is when you realize that someone is trying to take your culture away from you, it makes you appreciate your culture all the more and hold it dear and near to you. And even though technically in these schools, the children were not supposed to speak to each other in anything but English. They weren't supposed to even use their native tongue amongst each other. And however, it wound up in many cases backfiring. But it was a horrible program that was in place for a really long period of time. And one of the auxiliary programs that we have going along with the exhibition is I had the good fortune of being introduced to a um, oral historian who is on the staff at UWGB, and he is a member of the Menominee Nation, and he's doing a three-part series that he's going. The kicking off point is he's going to just introduce himself a little bit, and this is a virtual series just because it was much easier with his schedule this summer, and he's going to be talking about the impact that the boarding school program had on his family, his specific family, his mom and his dad's mom, and then moving into how even when the boarding school program was officially gone, it wasn't gone. The practice in places was still being carried forward by schools, even though they weren't technically funded by the government anymore. The practices were still in place and moving forward. And even though the programs ended in theory around the 1930s, it was still being practiced throughout the 1950s and into the 60s.
And
And
this wasn't just a matter of students going to school and being indoctrinated in that way. They were actually taken from their families and
yeah,
sent away, right? Which just
exactly.
doubles down on the tragic nature of this story.
Yeah, and then there was the whole struggle of like, do we let our children go or do we let them flee? To not be a part of this program, and so that's going to be part of this three-part program, and then how he transitioned out of it and became the person he is today. The hardships he was encountering then, and when I met him. I drove up to UWGB and we spent a couple afternoons together, close to like maybe 7 hours. And I'm not exactly the quiet type. You may have heard that about me or perhaps even experienced it on your own. But for about 6, 7 hours, I asked him a couple questions. Otherwise, I just sat and listened to what he was saying. And,
Wow.
and he finds the humor in almost absolutely everything. And he tells the stories for what they are, but, then he finds like almost like a way to laugh at the horrible in the face of something horrible, and I'm glad that we're bringing that to be a part of this program as well.
So, you know what? Let me put this up, Tim, so people know just
Okay.
what we're talking about. This is called Away from Home American Indian Boarding School Stories. And this is an exhibit by the National Endowment for the Humanities on the road. And it's going to be at the Manitowoc Public Library from June 16th through August 11th.
That is
Okay.
correct, and as always, should point out it's absolutely free,
Yeah.
and all of the programming associated with the exhibition is all free also.
How much time should a person allow, do you think? Do you think it's like an hour's worth of time that you'd want to commit there, or is I'm just
I
thinking
would
about planning a schedule.
I would say that it is a museum caliber exhibition that was organized by one of. There are two really top rated First Nation museums in America. One is in Phoenix, called the Herd, and one is the Smithsonian First Nations History Museum. And the Herd in Phoenix, which I've had the good fortune to visit, which is an absolutely incredible Indigenous Peoples Museum. It covers everything from um, it co- uh, geographically, it covers from Alaska down the West Coast to the East Coast. So, I mean, it is just a phenomenal museum. When I was there, I didn't get to see this exhibit. It was before they had done it, but they put this exhibit together. I would say dedicate no less than 45 minutes because there's a lot to take in. But I mean, there are visual elements, there are uh, audio elements, there are immersive elements, there are artifact elements as well, like including a barber chair from one of the schools. I mean, so, you get to take in the photographic elements are the most impressive things, and also some of the most, just amazingly weighty things that you can take from it because they're just exceptional. I mean, the imagery of the way these young people were treated. And then you get to see something like the barber chair where they actually, had their hair westernized, or the dormitory, where they spent their nights, or a classroom setup, where they were forced, to learn. Well, not so much to learn, but to give up their culture.
Right.
The attempt was to give up a culture. So there's a lot to take in.
I feel like we are so incredibly lucky here on the coolest coast to have this caliber of an exhibition coming literally to our front door. Like you said, there's the Herd, and that's way over in Arizona, and the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. And all of this information is coming right here. So please do not miss this.
Yeah, no, I feel very lucky that we were able to land this exhibition because, in all truthfulness, the journey of getting this exhibition here, uh, the it's slightly epic. It started when the library staff was sent home during the real first teeth days of the pandemic, and I decided I was going to use that time, in addition to making a pivot towards digital programming, was to try and get one of these exhibits to the library. And I actually landed two that are coming to the library. One was it wasn't this one. One was Coney exhibit about Coney Island, and one was about World War II. And they were going to happen about 2 years apart from each other, but because of budget cuts to the National Endowment for the Humanities, the the middle group that puts these together and handles all the detail work, the Mid America Arts Alliance, lost a ton of funding, and they had to cancel all their exhibits except for one, and it was this one, the Away from Home exhibit, because I was interested in this from the get go, but there were no spots available. And
Wow.
so my contact person at Mid America Arts Alliance, uh, they got in touch with me about a week after they had told me that we had to cancel our shows. And she goes, I know you were really disappointed, but a spot opened up for Away from Home. Do you want that? And I was like, yes. She's like, do you want to check with your supervisors? I'm like, no. We'll just take it and we're going to make it work. And fortunately, everyone agreed with me because, honestly, this quite possibly is the best exhibit that they had out anyhow. And it like you said, it forces you to take a look at a part of history that needs to be never repeated again. But it is an exceptional exhibition that that takes a look at something tragic that was put in place by our government, and we need to accept that it happened because it did happen. It's history. Take a look at it and see it for what it is. But it's also a celebration of a culture that refused to be wiped away. And I think both parts are so important to, one, acknowledge what happened, and to celebrate what a people didn't allow to happen.
Yeah. Oh, Tim,
So
that is fantastic and perfectly in line with the library making knowledge available, right? Educating us on what could be a lost part of history otherwise. I'm so glad to know that this is coming away from home. American Indian Boarding School Stories, June 16th through August 11th. This is going to be on exhibit at the Manitowoc Public Library. Tim, I'm just going to demonstrate a little bit of how little I know about this topic. Did this affect First Nation tribes throughout America or only in certain pockets? Like, were there Wisconsin tribes that were affected?
certainly, yeah. Yes, throughout America. I mean, it was
Yeah.
throughout America. And I believe, if I'm wrong, I hope people who are following along will forgive me, but I believe that Wisconsin had 12 of these schools in Wisconsin. So, I mean,
Wow.
you know, it's a part of our landscape too. It's a part of our historical sweep as well. Things like this affect everybody. They really do, because it's something that was put in place, as a nation. It's not like we made the choices, but the choice was laid at our doorstep, and it did affect. It was everywhere. It was everywhere, and not just here. Some of the schools were in Canada. They just sent people away, and a lot of people never came back. And you're hearing that more in the news now. Actual national news about how they're finding mass graves and things like that. On the sites
Oh
of
my
of
God.
where these schools were. So,
So some of these families were just broken apart forever.
hmm yeah,
All right. Well,
yeah.
Tim, I
I mean,
am,
history isn't always easy, but um, this is something I've said before, and I don't mind repeating myself. I've never said it to you, but um, history should take you out of your comfort zone. There are a lot of wonderful and beautiful things in the rearview mirror of history, but most of history should make you uncomfortable. And if it doesn't make you uncomfortable, and you're not learning something new, and you're not examining how you look at the world because of it, then it's not really history. It's simply a fairy tale that makes you feel better about yourself and your personal biases. And everyone has personal biases. But if history itself doesn't bug you a little bit and make you reevaluate, then it's not history. That's what history's there for. It's for you to learn. It's about where we've been, but it's also a roadmap for where we should and shouldn't go moving forward.
so
And
well
that's what I love
said,
about this.
Tim.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
so
get
well
lucky
said.
once in a while, but I honestly believe that, and I'm really pretty passionate about it. And I love all the programming that we put together, to go along with the exhibit, including a concert by Wade Fernandez, who is a international award-winning singer-songwriter who combines rock and blues and like Menominee Nation rhythms into his music. And again, that's going to be at the library, and that's free. Check out our website. Go to our website and look at our events calendar. There's a ton of stuff. But I'm so I'm the library in general is honored to be bringing this exhibit to our area, and we're very proud to be presenting it to our community.
Yeah, I'm just going to put up the placard one last time. It's the National Endowment for the Humanities on the Road, Away from Home, American Indian Boarding School Stories, on exhibit at the Manitowoc Public Library, June 16th through August 11th. Tim, thank you so much for coming on the show to make us aware of this, to give us this great background information, and for all you do to keep continually bring like world-class programming to the Manitowoc Public Library. We all across the Coolest Coast are so fortunate for that.
Well, we're fortunate to have a community that is curious and that is willing to go along with us as we evolve along with them. So, like I said, it's an honor to be bringing this stuff, and that's what we're here for. And we're constantly looking for new ways to bring it. So,
New ways to bring it. Awesome. thanks, thanks for being on the show today, Tim. Viewers, make sure you check out the exhibit. We'll see you next time on Coffee on the Coast.